Good evening, everyone. With the posted time having arrived and a quorum of members present, I'll call the Public Health and Safety Committee meeting for Monday, February 19th, 2024 to order. The first item on our agenda tonight is to approve the minutes of our previous meeting from 1/22 of 24, copies of which were in the packets. Did anyone note any revisions or corrections they needed for the minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to approve them.
I'll move to
Motion
approve.
from Henke. Is there a second? Second from Denny. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None are opposed. That motion carries. Item 2 is to consider approval or denial of various license applications. We have the batch in the packet for this month again. There are a couple of changes that the Liquor License Review Subcommittee just considered this evening. One is a Class B license for a new owner at what was formerly Campus Pub, and the other one is license for a new owner at the establishment formerly known as Cruise Inn on Merrill Avenue. Both of those were recommended for approval after we had discussed with the owners. Let me see if we have anybody recommended for denial this evening. I need to page down to the list here. I don't think that there's one.
Was one.
Yep, one. So the one that was recommended for denial is Kenneth Lashuk. And by our ordinance, he has a right to address the committee if he feels there's inaccuracies in the record. Kenneth Lashuk, Lasiuk. Is he attending tonight? Let the record show he has not appeared to address the committee. But that is the only denial recommendation. I guess since he has not appeared to address the committee, we can accept a motion to accept or deny licenses as recommended by staff, if someone would want to make that motion.
Move to accept.
Motion from Denny, is there a second? Second from Larson. Further discussion? Hearing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None are opposed, so those licenses are approved and one denial. Item 3 is the 2023 annual report from the fire department, which you've seen a copy of. Anything in the report that you wanted to discuss specifically, Chief?
I guess for the annual report, nothing real distinct other than the fact that, we've come through what Chief Bartek was calling our transitional year. We've almost seen that come to fruition here. After we onboard these next 3, we'll still be 2 firefighters short of that new number of 74. But we have developed a new deployment plan, and we are running with 3 people on an engine now compared to what we were doing previously. So I think that's a step in the right direction and worth noting for 2023.
For
and
sure.
into this year.
Major progress has been made there. Well-written report. It was good to see that. So
Thanks.
does anyone have questions on the report at all for the chief? If not, we'll place that report on file. Item number 4 is the tavern activities report for the month of January, copies of which are in the report or in the packets as well. Anything specific on the report, Chief, that you wanted to discuss with us?
It's probably one of the more quiet months you have noticed.
Kind
so
of, yes.
Nothing that really jumped out at me.
Okay. Anything that any of you would like to ask the chief about? If not, we'll place that report on file as well. Item number 5 is our community outreach update. We've got our outreach coordinator, Tracy Rieger. We'll bring her up for an update, and I believe she'll also have an update on the night shelter and day center. She's got a rep with her tonight from Catholic Charities that can bring us up to speed on that as well. Welcome.
Thank you. For the month of January, there was 228 unhoused individuals seeking shelter, which is about 84% of our unhoused. And then as far as numbers for shelter at Salvation Army, I do have a really important update for their programming. About 2 months ago, they discontinued serving women altogether. And I just spoke with the major this week, and last week, and he indicated to me that as of April 1st, they will no longer be taking any individual males into their shelter. And by the 26th of April, all of those existing individual males will be exited out of shelter, and they're moving to a family-only shelter, which will consist of 3 rooms, still totaling 28 individuals. But I wanted to bring that to this meeting today so that everyone was aware of that change in their shelter. Catholic Charities was at capacity 25 out of the 31 days for the month of January. So they were at like 89% capacity most of the month. Salvation Army did not reach capacity. As far as turnaways, there was 70 turnaways for the month of January at Catholic Charities due to capacity, and 29 at the Salvation Army. In the month of January, I did house one individual, and then I've housed a total of 44 individuals since I started, and with that, 9 of those have re-entered into homelessness due to evictions. Outside of that, we haven't needed to activate community on call since January because our temperatures, since January, our temperatures have been really, really mild, so we're on track to do nothing in February at all. So outside of that, I do have Nathan here tonight from Catholic Charities to give you a brief update on what's going on there with day shelter. So
Okay, so we'll be ready to accept that report. Well, do we have questions for Tracy first, I guess, before we,
Yes.
the
Maybe
chief
just-
and then Doug?
Maybe just a quick clarification. You want to step back up. So you had mentioned that the Salvation Army is down to 3 rooms.
Yes.
Tell me if my understanding is correct, that the Salvation Army won't be serving any individuals. They will be able to serve up to 3 families at any given time.
Correct.
With a total capacity of 28, but that would be 3 really large families to hit 28 people.
Correct. Absolutely correct. So there's one room there that can serve 4 individuals, 1, 6, and then the large room for the remainder, which obviously, as Chief has indicated, that would be a pretty large family, so.
So there's the expectation then that we would probably see pressure on the other shelters, either Bridge Street Mission or Catholic Charities, as a result of that change at Salvation Army, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And then, can you clarify, you said Salvation Army was not at capacity any days, but they had 28 turnaways, or 20-some turnaways?
Right, so-
What causes a turnaway?
Sure. For the Salvation Army, they're a program-based shelter. So when individuals show up for shelter at their doorstep, they do check criminal backgrounds and criminal histories. And so whether it's their criminal record, whether they have been, ineligible due to the manager's disapproval of them being entered into shelter, there's a number of reasons why they wouldn't be able to enter into that shelter, as opposed to Catholic Charities where they really don't have an eligibility requirement for individuals that show up, even if they're altered. So that's the difference. And the criminal background really is important because they are having families that stay there, so they have to be sure that whoever's presenting is not going to be a risk to those individuals staying.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Thank you for that. Doug, go ahead. You had a question for Tracy?
Sure, I do, Tracy, sorry.
Sorry.
Do we have a rough idea how many are affected by this on either a nightly or monthly basis? It will be more than the 28 to date?
So right now, the capacity at the Salvation Army for singles has been anywhere between 13 and 15. So, I mean, if we go with that number, I would say that there's probably going to be roughly that many individuals that may be out in our community. I know that the Salvation Army is working really hard to get those individuals moving forward and, case managed to a point where maybe on that 26th day of April, we don't have 15 individuals unhoused in our community. I think they're working hard to get them in a different place.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, now we're ready for the report from Catholic Charities. Nathan, if you want to come on up and talk to us a little bit about how things have been going at the night shelter and the day center.
Good evening.
Hi.
So January 2nd, we were extremely pleased to partner with the city in opening the day center. The day center will operate Monday through Friday now, so as of this week, we'll be 5 days a week. That's 1 to 5 p.m. in the afternoon. So as I'm sure you're well aware, we hired the day center coordinator, Bronson Lobato, so he's been actively working to recruit volunteers, to recruit staff as well. So we believe that we're ready to make an offer on a part-time staff person, a staff lead for the day center program to work with Bronson. We'll have 2 people for that program to work with Bronson, and then we'll continue recruiting for volunteers as well. So the vision for the day center is really to create a sustainable program with a solid foundation. So as I mentioned, our current focus now is to build a capable team, which involves hiring dedicated staff, engaging passionate volunteers, and forming partnerships with premier service providers. our goal is to expand the day center's operations to 7 days a week. This expansion will depend on securing necessary staffing and maintain service excellence and adhere to our Good Shepherd Shelter's policy guidelines. Our top priority is to create a safe and enriching experience for everyone. So we will offer a quiet room, which will be a peaceful space for engaging with service providers. Currently, Bronson's really been focusing on doing community outreach, working with partners. Right now, he's recruited CW Solutions, so we're very excited to be offering services that they provide on Mondays. And so they have a number of different services. So they provide mental health counseling, housing assistance, and more. So they're locked into that Monday slot. So our goal is to have a different service provider each day to engage with guests in an environment where they have trusted relationships and we can do that warm handoff. We'll also have a social area for engaging with games, art, movies, more of an open area. That's the dining room, right? So I'm sure all of you have been down there. It's a very limited space. So during the day, Bronson goes in with volunteers, transitions to a sleeping area. That's the quiet room. So we'll have presentations, workshops, one-on-one engagement with the partners in that room. And then the dining room is where they'll have that social area. So a little more free form. We provide snacks and coffee. And then importantly, we have the supportive staff and volunteers to develop those relationships so that we can help our guests, when they're ready, engage with those providers. So we're trying to provide a good alternative space. From the library, we'll have computers that they can utilize there, a printer, and a number of different supportive services, as well as being able to leverage the relationships we have at the CPC too, so we can walk them down. Surprisingly, many of our guests aren't aware of all the services that are available within the community. So this is an opportunity to engage with them in a different way, in a quiet, sort of relaxing setting where we can have a non-threatening interaction with our guests. And eventually we hope to have events as well. So I talked to Donna Ambrose from Neighbor's Place about doing a series of talks. So she volunteered to come in and do a talk for us, just sharing her life experience. She has a real depth of experience in this area. So that's what I have for you in terms of the day program status. I'm happy to talk about other programs that we run, but I think that's what's of greatest interest right now.
Excellent. It is exciting to see that finally take flight and get up and running. I think that it will gradually help to relieve pressure that we've seen on other public facilities when it wasn't open during its downtime. So definitely excited to see you open up that opportunity for a population that needs help. So anyone have questions for Nathan at all about the day center or the night shelter? Chief?
What have you seen for attendance so far in the soft open, and what's your capacity for, how many individuals do you have capacity for on any given afternoon? Thank you.
We're off to a slow start, which I think is good because it allows us to sort of stress test the program and build gradually. When it was cold, I think we had 18 people at our most busiest day. So we've been right around, I think, 5-6 people per day, which I think right now is good because we don't have any other staff. It's just Bronson down there. So he's really refining that, recruiting our partner programs, and then we'll build. I mean, it's essentially, I think, a marketing process that has to happen with this. So I brought some flyers I'm happy to share with council members and others, if you'd like to take a look at that.
We would love that, and I
did reach out. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I did reach out to Leah at the library, and I asked her to put the flyers up. So
Okay.
we'll just get those around town.
I'm sure she is thrilled
Yes.
to advocate for your organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, I think that's huge. I think that'll be really good, and obviously as those services expand, as you're able to add hours, knowing that you need some time to transition from day to night. I mean, we obviously know there's some time needed there, but I think it's just exciting to see that opportunity in the community exist for people to access those services again. I think once that word got out, and even when we had first started the day center in its infancy, it was well received, and I think it was a place for people to go and be where there before that, when we didn't have it, people weren't sure where they could or should be. And there was some friction there and some pressure on public facilities as well. And, you don't realize how much you need something until you don't have it for a while. But when we had it for a while and then it closed, that presented a whole new series of challenges for everyone involved. So glad to see that you've got that open. Doug?
Yeah, quick question. Some people use the library for the internet services. They charge your phone and they can go online to access other services. Do you have a portal or a way for a guest to be able to do that as well?
So they're allowed to use their phones there now. So we, normally at night, we take all of their belongings. They have to change into scrubs. During the day, they can keep their normal clothes on, use their phone. There's also Wi-Fi access to the CPC guest network there, so they can tap into that. And then we'll provide access to the Chromebooks that they're able to work with our partners. So there'll be supervision with that type of technology.
Right, I wasn't thinking that line of, that's a good point. But there are some services that they can take advantage of, and it's only accessible at times online. All right, thank you.
Yes, we would like to provide access to that too.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any additional questions? If not, we'll place Tracy's report on file, including the update that we got from Catholic Charities. So we are to the end of our agenda then, so thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Nathan, that's important for us to know. With that, we're to the end of our agenda, so I'll take a motion to adjourn. Oh, Chief Gopp, go ahead.
I just thought of something that I think I should update you guys on, and just real quick. It's, we've entered our first auto aid agreement with Safer, collaboration with Safer Fire District. That just went into place a few weeks back. And what that consists of is, it's different than mutual aid in the fact that when you go to some sort of emergency scene, you can ask for mutual aid with the MABUS cards. However, with this auto aid agreement now, what's happening is anytime there's a fire in Weston or Rib Mountain, we get automatically paged the same time they get paged, and we're committed to sending a ladder truck with 3 personnel when available. If we're too busy, it's written in the language that we do not need to send anyone. And in return, anytime we have a structure fire in Wausau, they're automatically paged for a paramedic ambulance to respond to that scene. What that provides us is the ability to have someone there to care for our own if something would happen, as well as to take any calls that come in that often happen in the city when we're on a structure fire. Another ambulance call comes in and we have to get 2 paramedics out of their turnout gear and into the ambulance and respond. And this will increase their response speed as well as getting more people on scene to help us out. So.
That's huge. Thanks for that update. I think whenever we can share services with our neighbors and have that mutual aid to help them out, obviously we need their help as much as they need our help. So I think that's an amicable arrangement. I mean, even with box alarm, just knowing that you've got that backup is so helpful. So does anyone have questions for the chief on that? If not, we'll place all the reports. Chief?
I don't have a question about that, but I think while we have a representative of Catholic Charities here, it just struck me that, is there any, I'm curious as to what this committee's expectations are in being updated as the day program develops and progresses. Is that something you would like written correspondence on, or is that something you'd like Tracy to report on, or would you like Nathan, for example, to come quarterly and talk about progress? I know the city's a financial partner in that. I just want to make sure that
Right.
your expectations are being met.
I certainly think as part of Tracy's report, if there's anecdotal reports that she could include on a monthly basis, that's helpful for us. But I think given the fact that we are a funder of the organization and we've stood up that program for at least 2 years, quarterly updates I think would be good. What do you think, Nathan, if you could come back in every 3 months or so and just let us know how things are going, that would be super helpful.
Yes, of course. I'd be
Okay,
happy to.
we would love that. So we'll let that be an informal arrangement, but knowing now that we've just done it in February, if you could swing back in May and give us another update as far as how it's going, we would love to hear that. So absent any other items, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Larson, second by Denny. Members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll stand adjourned then. Thank you, everyone.